You're in Braves country. You're in Braves country.
Good afternoon, Braves country. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, 5:20. Doing it on the 20s because, as we talked about before. So, first of all, I want to make sure that the audio is right. It doesn't sound like it's kicking real. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. So let's do that instead. All right. I think that sounds a little clearer. This application is insane. I mean, it doesn't matter when we do, whatever we do, it's always screwed up somehow. Anyways, Braves, Mets, it is never going to be bigger than this week. I think that might have cleared up the actual. Braves country. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. 5. That's what the problem is. All right, there we go. All right, here we go. Jeez Louise, good night, Irene. All right, Braves country, audio problems fixed. Gosh darn ridiculous. It's always something with this thing. Anyways, the Mets, Braves, Mets. We are going to be starting that series tomorrow night, and they have already announced what the pitching matchups are going to be. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about tiebreakers because it is not a given that we're going to get a clean Sunday afternoon finale. We could end up with tiebreakers, and we're going to get into all that. We're also going to get into each individual matchup on the pitching front for Braves Mets and what the hell's going on with Arizona. Because if you missed it last night or late afternoon, I guess, we had the chat up yesterday. And when we left the chat, I had given up on any kind of a Brewer comeback because at the time that I looked at it last, it was 8-1 Arizona. So I was like, they've mailed it in. I don't know why, but Milwaukee does have a freaking pulse after they win the division. 3 straight damn games, they don't do anything. Honestly, Philadelphia didn't have a damn pulse. What the hell's Philadelphia doing? And I don't hear any more talk about how Zach Wheeler needs to be up near the Cy Young argument when you can't seal the deal and win the division. You let Brandon Nimmo hit a solo shot. So because of all this, and the Mets took 3 of 4 against Phillies, Philly absolutely choked. And it kind of reminds me of what the Mets did back in 2007 when the Phillies ran them down. They better be careful. They're only 5 up. There's still 6 to go, and the Mets will have the tiebreaker on the Philadelphia Phillies. So they better watch out. We cannot win the division. It's mathematically impossible. And if the Mets win the division, well, they've taken care of our butts. But as far as what the Braves are into and what matters for us, I mean, realistically, Philly should seal the deal this week. They've got a very easy schedule at home. But as far as what we're going to be looking at, by the way, real quick, I saw some arguments on whether or not Sale should be the Cy Young. I'm telling you right now, it should be Chris Sale, Paul Skeens, then Zach Wheeler, and then I'd probably throw Dylan Cease and Imanaga. That's it. And in the separation of Chris Sale to everybody else, it's not even close. And any chance that Zach Wheeler had was melted away on Sunday Night Baseball. They had a chance to win against the Mets. They had a chance to all they needed was one more win of the 4 that they played, and they would have. I mean, tell me how sweet it would be if you're a Phillies fan and you get to clinch the division for the first time in a long time on the Mets field. But they couldn't get it done, and the Mets are still 2 games in front of us. And don't take them lightly. That's all I can tell you. This Mets team is different. If you think different, you haven't been watching. This Mets team is absolutely different. This Mets team, they're not the typical New York Mets DNA. They're not the, flounder around, find a way not to score. This team is fights. And we've been decimated by injury, so I don't want to say that we've taken on their personality. But we had a chance to put the Mets away a long time ago. If you think about where we are right now in the standings and where the Mets are right now in the standings, if the Mets had not had a disastrous April and we had not had just a pathetic July, we'd probably be going into the this final week about 3 wide in the turn. Because do you remember beginning of the year? And I kept saying they're going to fall back down to earth. They're going to fall back down to earth. I don't care what anybody says. That team is not built right. Do you remember the beginning of the year? Philadelphia was running away with the best record in baseball. And no one wanted to look at the fact that they were playing a lot of easy games early on. And since then, they've really been playing with their food. They're kind of mulling around. I think they're running out of gas. But more importantly, I don't believe whether the Braves make the playoffs or not, whether the Mets make the playoffs or not, I don't think you have to worry about the Phillies getting their first world championship in, what will it be, 16 years? Not this year. That team does not have the pitching. They just flat out do not have the pitching. Regardless what happens here, we will have playoff baseball here on Braves Country Radio. So if you haven't paid attention to that, we will be doing that whether the Braves are in or not. But I'm still holding up my belief that we're going to find a way to win, because I've been circling that series in Atlanta at the end of the year all summer long. And what I kept looking at and kept saying to myself was, if we can just have a chance and we get them back home, all you got to do is win that first game, and then the pressure mounts. If we can win game one, we are a huge favorite in game two. So we'll get into that here in just a second. Let's go ahead and talk about, first of all, the tiebreaker. I think that's one of the questions a lot of folks have, and I'm going to try to dumb it down. Yeah, Yuki, the Braves were really good in April. It was the Mets that played very poorly, if you just missed what we said. Try to keep up. The Braves played very well in April. The Mets played terrible. The Braves played terrible in August. The Mets played very well. Philly played really well in the middle of the year, but it was really because Philadelphia had a very easy schedule, and they got back to the meat and potatoes of their schedule, and they've kind of shuffled around. I don't think they're going to end up with the top record in the National League. I think it's probably going to end up being the Dodgers. But anyways, they're not a real threat. The Phillies just are not a real threat. They might have the record. They don't have the pitching. But anyways, let's get back to what's important. The tiebreaker. Dumb this down as easy as I can. If we win the series against the Mets and we end up tied, I'm talking about this 3-game series, and we end up tied on Sunday with the same record as the Mets, Atlanta gets in. If the Mets win this series and we end up tied on Sunday, the Mets get in. We're tied at 5-5 apiece. I think most people have caught up to that. If there's a 3-way tie, meaning Arizona, Atlanta, and the Mets, the Mets and the Braves will get in. If there's a 4-way tie, in all likelihood, unless something ground shaking happens this weekend against Arizona and San Diego, Arizona once again would be the team out. Now, so basically what that means is we need to win this series against the Mets. I know a lot of people are going to try to tell you that they need to sweep. I saw that in tweets. It's a little hyperbole. You would love for a sweep. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we're not pulling for a sweep. But to be realistic, a sweep, I mean, we're talking about a team that couldn't sweep the Marlins, a team that couldn't sweep a lot of teams when you needed it, right? I mean, this past weekend, we needed a sweep from the Marlins, and we didn't get it. We needed to sweep the Reds. We didn't get it. So the idea that we're going to sweep a very good team in the Mets, much better than what everyone expected, that's pie in the sky, but obviously it's what we're shooting for. Now, once again, going to the Padres series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So the beginning of the week, what you have is Arizona's playing 3 against San Francisco, 3 at and 3 versus San Diego. All of those games are at home for the Diamondbacks. The Padres, I know we want to sit here and say that the Padres are pretty much punched their ticket, but they've got 3 on the road in Los Angeles to face the Dodgers and then 3 at Arizona. If the Dodgers sweep them and the Diamondbacks win that series, they're going to free fall behind everybody. I don't think they're going to, but it could very well happen. Right now, there are 3 games in front of Arizona, and if for some reason you end up with that tie at the end of the week, and I'm talking about all the teams tied, once again, it would come down between those 2 teams who ends up winning that 3-game series. But the thing is, if they end up free falling, San Diego is going to end up losing a lot of tiebreakers. They would win one against Atlanta, but Atlanta would have the others against the other two. So basically it cancels itself out. And so that's what the tiebreaker is at right now. So I hope I cleared that up, because I saw a lot of questions and a lot of comments this morning on Sports Talk Radio, on on X, on a couple other social media platforms. And the main question everybody had, because it's weird and really strange on MLB as far as who has the tiebreaker, but essentially it is, if we can win this game, this series against the Mets, the ball's in our court. If we come out of there with the series win, but not the sweep, we're going to be a game behind the Mets. They have 3 in Milwaukee. I do believe Milwaukee is going to not give a crap on Sunday. But I think Friday, Saturday, they're going to put their best foot forward, because they know they've got a full week before they play again if they end up running down the Phillies or the Dodgers, or they know that they're going to play on Tuesday. Either way, teams know that they want to stay sharp. And that's just the way it is. Right now, you want to stay sharp, because we've seen too many teams like the Braves, like the Dodgers, a bunch of other teams over the last several weeks or last several years in Major League Baseball. You don't go into the postseason hot, and your offense pays for it. Your offense absolutely pays for it. So that's where we are on tiebreakers. Now, to the meat and potatoes, I want to make sure that I'm not missing any questions or anything in the chat. I think everybody's just saying, I think everyone's just kind of, okay. I don't believe I've missed anything. If anyone's got any real questions, throw them in the chat now. By the way, wearing this right now because it was a birthday present from my wife, and I told her, I said, I know it's hotter than hell in the studio right now in late September, but I'm going to go ahead and wear it, because I don't know when I'll wear it again until like next spring, or maybe during the off season during our shows. But it's really sweet Atlanta Braves hoodie if you're listening to this on radio. It's funny, she asked me about it, and then I told her which version I liked the most, and then I forgot all the hell about it. There was a really sweet one that they had out, by the way, that was dark navy, and I prefer the capital A on most things, but there was so much junk on it that I was like, just get me I like simple. I like clean looks. I don't like where there's like, it had something down the back of the back of the hoodie, or maybe behind the hoodie. Anyways, there was all kinds of crap. It looked like a damn NASCAR. You look like a damn NASCAR just going down. I'm talking about a NASCAR driver until you look like a NASCAR. It had stickers and everything all over it. So here we go. Now we go into, and yes, she is an awesome wife, Beef. She supports me 1,000% in this thing of Braves Country Radio. All right. Now what we're looking at is the series itself. Now, first of all, I don't want to go past this too quick, because I do believe it is important to take a look at one thing. What Arizona is going to be doing. Now, I know they're playing San Francisco, and San Francisco hasn't been the best team on baseball, but they're not terrible either. San Francisco is 2 games under 500, and it is a rivalry game. If you don't think San Francisco would like to stick it to one of their rivals as they're going down the stretch, this is their one shot. The games they play on this weekend against the Cardinals don't mean anything. So this is their one shot. Tonight, if you're up late, the Diamondbacks host the Giants, and it is Birdsong versus Erod. They've got the advantage, but Erod hasn't been Erod, so you never know. In Game 2 of that series, real quick, because I do believe that we're going to be just as much scoreboard watching as we are going to be locked in on the Mets games this week. Game 2, Tuesday night, it's Logan Webb versus Brandon Pfaadt. In theory, advantage San Francisco. The problem is with San Francisco is they don't have any offense to speak of. So they really have to go out and win like 3-1 type games. Man, does that sound familiar, right? And then on Wednesday, San Fran and the Diamondbacks, it's Mason Black versus Zach Gallen, definite advantage Diamondbacks. So the two games they most realistically could lose would be these first two. I think a much better chance of losing tomorrow than tonight, but they do have a puncher's chance tonight. So there's that series. We'll put that away. We won't worry about all the other stuff. We'll end up doing a Braves country on Friday, I believe, as well, as long as I can squeeze it in. I mean, unless we get swept and it's over. That's the other thing. If the Mets sweep us, it's a wrap. We're done. I mean, I guess in theory, if the Diamondbacks get swept, we would go into the weekend. If we lose the series, by the way, we could catch the Diamondbacks, but we can't catch the Mets because they would be up 3 games with 3 to play, and they would have the tiebreaker. So we bare minimum, we have to win this series to be able to keep a puncher's chance against the Mets. You'd be 1 back, 3 to play, and you'd have the tiebreaker. But if you swept, obviously that's the most ideal. You'd be up 1 with 3 to play, and you'd have the tiebreaker. All right, as far as the Braves and the Mets go, this is the important part of this because you can still control your own destiny. And I'm a little surprised that they didn't. It tells me that we may not be getting Raylo back as soon as we thought we were. In a perfect world, you could have put Raylo on the mound Thursday night because he was the first night he could have been eligible going in. But maybe the Braves, there could be 2 things happening there. A, he may not be progressing as quickly as we hoped. B, and more likely what the deal is, they don't want him to go out there after 2 weeks of not doing a thing and then go out there in a meaningful game that could be the difference on whether or not your season goes through or not. So, or goes on or not. So they could just be holding him off till the weekend to see if they need him. Schwellenbach is going to be on the mound tomorrow night. We love Schwellenbach. We believe in Schwellenbach. But this is going to be the most difficult matchup of the entire series. If we can steal this first game, I really like our chances to make the playoffs. Severino's coming in. He's coming in on normal rest. He's 11-6 with a 3.79 ERA. If you haven't watched Severino pitch, he is nasty. He is a bit of a strikeout pitcher, but the main thing is he keeps the ball in the park. 178 innings. He's only given up 22 home runs. And his ERA, 3.79, just a touch higher than Schwellenbach, but a hell of a lot more innings. So that always plays into it. Is the more innings you pitch, not only is it the wear and tear, but there's also the chance of you just having these just balloon ERA type innings throughout a season. And he's gone to the post, man. 178 innings. That's nothing to shake a stick about. Yuki says the Mets are cold. Yeah, they scored 2 runs against the Phillies. They scored 2 runs against Zach Wheeler, who's going to finish in the top 2 or 3 of ERA. So that's completely false. That's completely false. The Mets slapped around the Phillies all weekend long. They ran into one of the best pitchers in the National League. Of course, they didn't score a ton of runs. So anyways, they're far from cold. The Mets offense, you want to talk about cold, the Braves have a cold offense. But anyways, Severino versus Schwellenbach, and what we're hoping there, and I realize you got an extra day to rest everybody. Now, we used Raisel Iglesias eyeglasses on Sunday for 2 innings. The Mets also used Diaz for 2 innings. I think we're at the stage of the year where it won't matter. I think both guys will be available for all 3 nights if needed. If there's a night where you just know you're not going to be able to win the game, you're obviously going to rest them that night. But we're in the home stretch here, and if they can go, you're going to go. You would have loved to have had Iglesias not have to throw 2 innings yesterday, but on the plus side of it, it was a pretty short 2 innings. I believe it ended up being like 24, 25 pitches, somewhere in that neighborhood. So we're okay on that front realistically. I don't know if you can go 2 consecutive innings with him in this series. If you do, you're probably losing him for at least a day, and I don't know if that's really if that's necessarily what you want to do. What you really want to do is if you can get yourself with a lead in the 7th inning plus, you go Lee, Jimenez, eyeglasses. Lee, Jimenez, eyeglasses. Lee, Jimenez, eyeglasses, all 3 games and get the series. Now, what you hope is that Schwellenbach can go out there and give you 7. What you hope is Sale gives you 7 or 8. I'm not expecting Max Fried to give us more than 6. It just hasn't been his MO this year. He ends up wasting a lot of pitches early. He doesn't seem to have any of these quick innings. And he can go and shove for us and give us 6 innings of like 2-run ball. I haven't seen it in him to be able to shut anyone down. I'm not gonna say expect it, but I fully believe Sale can shut any offense down in baseball. I fully believe Schwellenbach, when on, is as dangerous as any right-hander in the National League. But he is a kid, and you do realize there's growing pains. You don't know what he's going to feel. Tomorrow night is going to feel like a playoff atmosphere. And so the playoff atmosphere is going to come down to, I would be shocked if all of these games didn't end up being low-run, close affairs, all 3 of them. And I know we've had the issues with the stranding runners in scoring position. And that's a given. But we've also been playing a lot of really bad baseball teams recently. And so we've had a lot of opportunities. It's not expected against Severino on Tuesday night. Wednesday night, Sale versus Peterson. Definite huge advantage Atlanta. Peterson's pitched well. But David Peterson has not pitched well enough where you would give them the nod over Chris Sale. Now, he's been the better version of David Peterson than he has in his entire career as a starter. He's 9-3 with a 3.08 ERA. That's not too shabby. I was always amazed when we would play Peterson in years past, and you would see like this just ballooned ERA. It'd be in the high 4s, low 5s, and he'd pitch against the Braves and it'd be lights out. And I'm talking about even on the years when we've had good offenses. I never could understand it because, he seemed like he's a damn good pitcher. Well, I guess whatever his issues have been over the last couple of seasons, he has figured it out because 114 innings, 9-3 with a 3.08 ERA, that ain't nothing. But the Braves will have Sale, and you got to figure where we should win that game. If we're going to win this series, that's the game we need to win, have to win. Tomorrow night's game, Tuesday night's game, that's going to be the game where you're going to be kind of holding your breath and hoping that we get the good Schwell and that maybe, just maybe, Severino, we can get to him 2nd or 3rd time through the lineup. And then on Thursday, Beef says I'm probably going to have a heart attack. I'm with you, man. I am with you. This is the biggest grind of a season by far that we've done on Braves Country Radio. Started this in 2021. When we won it all in 2021, first started this, I didn't have a freaking any expectations of this team being any good. Hell, when we started, I didn't even know we were going to make the playoffs. We started the second half of the season. I won't get into that whole story, but the short of it is you started seeing it go and kept winning. And I'm like, man, this team just seems destined. 2022, 2023, we know what happened. But there wasn't a grind of a season. It was a fun season. We were putting runs up. We chased down the Mets in 22. We ran away the division in 23. This year, the expectations were so high. And then injury after injury after injury is just decimated. But look at this. We're still in it. And we're just one of those teams. Everybody thinks we're gone, and they haven't killed us yet. So Game 3, once again, this will be a big one because it'll be Max Fried versus Sean Manaea. If you're not familiar with Sean Manaea has been doing this year, he's been damn good. He's 12-5 with a 3.29 ERA. He has a 106 whip. 178 innings. He has struck out 183. He shut down the Phillies on Saturday. He is going to be a tough customer. I believe that Thursday is a true toss-up. I believe in Max Fried. When we get the good Max, I believe that he can do anything especially at home. And I believe on Wednesday, game 2, we have a huge advantage and need to and better win that game. Tomorrow night's game may be the difference on whether or not we head to the postseason. Because if we can win that game, find a way to beat their ace. Severino is their ace this year. Now, Manaea hasn't been anything to sneeze at, but Severino has been their ace. And if he can go out, talking about Schwellenbach, if he can go out and go pitch for pitch, inning for inning, I can tell you this much, our bullpen's a hell of a lot better. Top to bottom, our pitching staff is the best in baseball. You may not think that if you're a Braves fan and all you ever watches Braves games and you think it's just ridiculous when we ever give up a run, go watch some other baseball and get back to me. Braves, not only is it by the numbers, the Braves bullpen has been outstanding. What we are going to miss more than anything in this series, and I've mentioned it a few times over the last several weeks, but we're really going to miss it more than anything in this series. Not just having a Spencer Strider, those are obvious, right? Go out there and dominate a game 1. Not just having a Ronald Acuna Jr., not just having an Austin Riley. We get all that. But the sleeping key to this matchup is going to be how the bullpens perform. And losing A.J. Minter was devastating because we could easily have gone all 3 of these games and go lights out, night shift type of baseball. I mean, this A.J. Minter was so huge for us, not even just in 21, but in years following, where you could just go out there and put him out there. You just couldn't go 3 days in a row, but you can go out there a couple of nights in a row, and it gives you the ability to give a Jimenez or a Lee off and really keep him fresh. But we don't have him, and there's nothing you can do about it. He's not coming back this year. He shut down. He's done. So we've got what we've got, and we still have the best staff in all of baseball, and we still have the 3rd best bullpen in all of baseball. And we've been creeping up as far as making it closer. We're not going to catch 1 and 2, but we've been making it closer as far as ERAs are. I wish we were setting this up. To be honest, I wish we were going Chris Sale game 1. I really do. Because I think it would set the tone. I'm a little surprised they didn't do that. I know it gives Chris Sale an extra day. I get that. But Chris Sale pitched on Thursday against Cincinnati. If he pitched tomorrow night, that would be on normal rest. Now, these aren't in stone. They could come out Tuesday afternoon and say, Sale's going tonight. Max is going to Wednesday, and Raylo is going to be back when he can on Thursday. Or some version of Raylo coming out of the pen and let Schwellenbach get the start. You could do all that, but as of right now, this is where we stand. This is what we know. Braves starters throw 7 innings and then neglect. Yeah, you can't do that every game. You can do that one game. You can do that on what? On Chris Sale Day, but then you don't have Iglesias the following day. He's cooked. He's done. That's not how baseball works. These guys' arms aren't. This isn't a video game. I think a lot of people that make comments have only played MLB The Show and never actually played in an actual baseball game. But you can't expect the starters in today's baseball. It's great when they go 7 innings. It's just not likely. It's very, very unlikely. You're hoping for 6. 7 is outstanding. But the other key to this series, I'm a firm believer of this. They've got a couple of really good bullpen guys in the Mets, on the Mets roster. And we all know Edwin Diaz, trumpet boy. We all know that he's really good. You know, he's so good it annoys the hell out of you, right? But even with that being said, he's not a guy that has been – this year he has shown some cracks in the armor, but all in all he's been great. I guess what I'm trying to say. the rest of the Mets bullpen, Budo's really good, and we have seen him a few times over the last few years, and he's always been really good against us. You know, there's not a but top to bottom, the depth of the bullpen of the New York Mets, it's not what the Braves have. In their bullpen right now, I mean, they were warning up Ryan Stanek last night when Edwin Diaz was getting into trouble. Ryan Stanek is not the Ryan Stanek from a few years ago. They've got Ottavino and Phil Matone. All these guys have serious questions in their arsenal. Danny Young, he's a good lefty, but he's literally a lefty specialist. So they got to pick and choose when they use him. I guarantee you, Matt Olson's going to see Danny Young at least twice in the series. But you look at the top to bottom depth of the Mets bullpen, the Braves got him, but how much better would it have been if we had Minter? Not having Minter is as devastating as not having some of these other guys that we've missed from time to time this year, because he helped solidify that bullpen. I guarantee you next year, Thompson is going to have some kind of an answer. He's going to go out there and say, all right, you know, now we got to get younger in the bullpen. We can't, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. And tomorrow night, pitch by pitch, play by play of your Atlanta Braves. Appreciate everyone smashing the like and everybody stopping in and seeing us. And the next Braves Country today will be after the Mets series. I would assume it's going to be somewhere early afternoon on Friday, but we'll just have to play it by ear because, of course, I've got day jobs as well that I'm juggling. So go Braves, and 7:20 tomorrow night. Weather pending. It'll be Schwellenbach. And, hey, he's carried us so far. Why not one more time? Y'all have a good one.
You're in Braves country.